What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. Now, Bitcoin actually pumping today, which is very interesting. So obviously tomorrow we have the FOMC news about whether or not they're going to pause, raise rates. Are they going to cut rates? Most likely not. But what's interesting about Bitcoin pumping today is the fact that we're also seeing that the stock market has actually been dumping. It's actually been selling downwards. You can see right here, we're sort of putting in this triangle wedge type pattern. The one thing I will point out though is Bitcoin is being held down. You can see multiple times, right? As soon as we fell through, look, when we fell through this 100, right? It was acting as support, this blue line acting as support. Right here, we lost it. And then what happened? We came up, we got rejected, right? We got rejected again. So we really want to try to get above this minimally. That is basically closing a daily candle above $27,480. So we'll get into all that today, but guys, I have so much I want to talk about outside of just the charts. In fact, I'm going to put the charts at the end of the video today. I do think we're going to have a lot of volatility. You'll see why in a minute. But, the open interest was absolutely skyrocketing yesterday. What does that all mean? Well, guys, I do have a warning. A little bit of a warning for you, but it is a Bitcoin perspective. There's two things that I'm looking at very closely right now, and I have one chart that you absolutely have to see this. I think it will help put everything into a lot of perspective. We have the US narrative shifting. In fact, there is a pattern that's emerging right now that I don't know if anybody else has caught on, but I've definitely noticed it. And I want to talk about this specifically. Make sure you stick to the end of this video. I think you're going to get a lot of value out of it. And also, I've heard a lot of Bitcoin predictions in my day. I mean, I've even mentioned $1 million Bitcoin in our lifetimes, but this Bitcoin prediction may actually take the cake. But before we dive in, why don't we have some fun? And let's dive into a little bit of a meme video.
别走开，走开了阿哥会伤心的。如果阿哥伤心了，心里的话儿向谁说？月亮，月亮，别躲开，躲开了阿萨会孤单的。如果阿萨孤单。
All right, just starting off with some fun here, guys. Let's dive in. Let's have a look at what's happening right now. So, as I said, guys, looking at this open interest, it pumped over $12.1 billion. This was really crazy. Now, it did retrace, but why were we seeing this massive interest all of a sudden in Bitcoin out of nowhere? Well, I think we really know why. We've talked about the ETFs, we've talked about the accumulation, and this was the crazy prediction I just want to start with. You had Jurian Timmer, he's the director of global macro at Fidelity Investments. He believes that Bitcoin, listen to this, could be worth $1 billion by the year 2038. That's the craziest price prediction I think I've ever heard in my life. But wow, if that even remotely comes close to that, why would you not want to at least have some form of an allocation, right? I mean, a lot of people can't really believe these crazy prices, but do you guys remember the guy back in 2013 who was so excited when Bitcoin actually hit $100?
I'm right here watching history be made. Bitcoin is now up to $111. It's an all-time high, and it's continuing to rise. I've seen it break 3 times today. It went up to 110. And this is the highest that it's been. It's ridiculous. Last trade, 189 Bitcoin for $111 piece. That's amazing to me. I mean, just look at this graph. You see this graph? That's the last 3 hours. Give me a second, I'll switch it up.
Now, I know that seems crazy and a lot of people feel like they missed out. I was over on the Sin City podcast. We were talking about whether or not we're actually early. Are we actually not early anymore? Are all the chances to buy cheap Bitcoin at 100 and all these, is that just out the window? Well, unfortunately, I don't think we're getting $100 Bitcoin again, but I cannot stress the importance of this ETF. I know I sound like a broken record, but a lot of people consider Bitcoin to be digital gold, right? So if Bitcoin is digital gold, then we should probably start looking at gold. You can already kind of see where I'm going with this chart here, right? So do you guys know when the gold ETF was launched? Not in the 80s, not in the 90s. It was launched in 2004 in November. Now, I want you to look at this gold chart dating all the way back to the 1970s. You can't even see it down here. All right, look at this. Oh, a little bit of pump right here. You know, we had this, right? We're going sideways, we're going sideways. And what do you notice right here? You can see this is 2005. All right, ETF was launched in 2004. And what happened to gold? Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely massive, right? So if you don't think that it's going to do the same thing to the Bitcoin chart, well, you obviously don't understand, not you, I know everyone watching this is very smart, but you as in the generalized no-coiners, who I hope you're watching this video, it might help you to learn something. Obviously, drop a like. Because I like to actually, if you drop likes, it helps to share this video out more. YouTube, you know, they kind of take that as a sign that people are enjoying this. But this is called the Lindy Effect, right? The Lindy Effect, in a nutshell, I'm not going to go into the crazy long definition of it. Basically, the Lindy Effect says that if something has existed for a certain length of time, then there's the same probability that it should exist for at least that same amount of time. In other words, you know, if something's been around for 10 years, right? And it's not a fad, it's not a drop in the bucket, then theoretically it should be around for another 10 years. That's the Lindy Effect in a nutshell. But if you kind of look at this, you can see that this was originally by Murad Mahmoudab, I believe, over on Twitter. This is an older chart, but you could see that this points out the sort of Lindy trajectory of Bitcoin. And he says that we are only here. Right? So, you know, we've had the digital scarcity speculation, proving that the system is hard to change, etc. And now we're moving into this next area where you have greater perceived safety, greater education and understanding, greater decentralization, greater liquidity. Okay, that's going to come with things like the ETF. And then it becomes a reliable store of value, right? We're not quite there yet in the eyes of the public, but I mean, if Bitcoin's not a store of value, what is? Yeah, it takes 80% crashes, but then it pumps 1,000%, right? So it has proven long-term that it does go up and to the right. And eventually we end up here, you know, at full global money, convenient unit of account, which is going to be interesting if we ever get to that. So yes, I believe we are early, but I think that after this run, after the institutions come in, you know, 2024, 2025, I just don't think the average person is going to be able to really buy Bitcoin anymore. It's just going to be too expensive. Even a millionaire who's thinking like, I got $1 million, Bitcoin's at 300,000 now or something, right? Do I really want to drop 30% on one coin? Think about that, right? It's going to start pricing even the rich people out. And, you know, speaking on the Lindy Effect, speaking on technology, a lot of people don't understand technology. They don't get it. What is internet? What is modem? How do I send email? I mean, look at this in 1993. This is a reaction video of people just hearing that Burger King now accepts credit cards.
All right, let me see. What will it be?
For here to go. Would you like ketchup on that?
Well,
Large or small fry?
Cash or credit?
What? The home of the Whopper is offering cash or credit.
I think it's pretty bad if you have to use a credit card when you go to a fast food restaurant for something as little as $3.10.
If I use my GM card, I get a 5% rebate. If I eat here long enough, I'll be able to buy a pickup truck.
Burger King bosses say workers won't have to figure out how much change the customer gets back.
I just hope it doesn't slow things down at the cash and carry, that people are going to be having to call New York and get the confirmation or, you know, whatever it is, because when I want a Whopper, I want it now.
Just another way to spend money. I'm sure it'll work for people on vacation when they don't have to do something, but I can't imagine it working on a day-to-day basis here.
So far, the smallest credit has been for $2.50, the largest just over 10. Jamie Costello, News Channel 2.
Now the thought of a place not accepting a credit card or a debit card is insane, right? Well, the idea of Bitcoin becoming a store of value, the idea of Bitcoin ever being something of relevance or even a possible unit of account, who knows one day, seems crazy. But you know what else seemed crazy? What seemed crazy was having a company put Bitcoin on their balance sheet in 2017, 2018, 2019. Well, guess what? Multiple companies have done that. The prospect of a billionaire putting his portfolio in percentage of Bitcoin. You got the guy from the third richest man in Mexico holding basically only Bitcoin and gold and oil, right? So then we thought, well, what about if a country would put it on their balance sheet? And then El Salvador did it. And now we're seeing Bitcoin talked about in politics, right? I'm telling you guys, it's here to stay. I mean, just look for this. Do you guys remember back, I don't know, 10 years ago, there was a StarCraft tournament. And look at this. This is the actual website back from the day. This is 10 years ago. So this is the rules for Star Trek, StarCraft. And then you come down here, look at the prizes. Look at the prizes. First place prize, $500. Second place prize, $250. Third, $150. Fourth, $100. And then fifth through eighth place got 25 Bitcoin. 25 Bitcoins. I would have loved to have lost that, right? But again, how many of these people held? I know a lot of people who bought Bitcoin back in 2013, and they would have been like billionaires at this point, at least multi-millionaires. And most of them won't admit it, but a lot of them sold. Most of them sold. 99% of them sold because they didn't see the value in it, right? The same way how right now, no one's talking about crypto, right? You're not having your mom, your dad, your uncle, your friends, they're not calling you. No one's talking about crypto or Bitcoin right now. Why? Well, it's because it's boring. It's because they don't see what's happening right now. But this is what markets do. You know, they say markets end in capitulation. No, that's not actually true. The bear market actually ends in pure boredom. Usually they just have these boring bottom out patterns where everybody just throws in the towel, they give up, they just say, screw this, I don't want to do this anymore. And what ends up happening? Well, they miss out on arguably the greatest opportunities, right? And one of the big shifts that I'm seeing here in the US specifically is how, you know, the thing about the US is it's tough because you have 50 states, right? They all have their own laws. Then you have the federal law, which is the law that, you know, governs all the 50 states. But then you also have these separate entities, right? You have the CIA, the SEC, the CFT. There's a lot of checks and balances, and unfortunately, that is why it takes a long time to get things to happen in the US. But also, for example, you're seeing, the DOJ or even just the judicial system, mostly the judicial system, pushing back. I mean, Hester Pierce, and she's, one of two commissioners that generally go against the SEC. She says, I haven't seen a lot of change for better. You do have a lot of people who know quite a bit about crypto at this agency. I mean, Gary Gensler, he was teaching a blockchain class. He knows what he's talking about. I mean, come on, man. Whether that's in FinHub or whatever, but you have people who are actually quite knowledgeable. She says right here, this is what she says: don't give up on the United States. This too shall pass. The confusion shall pass. The United States is a good place to build things, and I want it to stay that way, but come forward with very concrete ideas and be thinking about concrete ways that you need clarity. I agree. I don't understand why the other three members can't figure it out. She seems to figure it out. Now, there's a little bit of conspiracy behind this we've gone into about whether or not she truly is on our side. That's not really for today. But as you can see, look what's happening. So the SEC said in a declassified court filing that Binance US auditor found that it was very difficult to ensure the company was fully collateralized at certain times. But again, just like we saw Ripple, right? They won against the SEC. Well, now the U.S. court has rejected the SEC's plea to inspect the U.S. documents of Binance. So you had this court denying their request to look at the exchanges, and they said they took a firm stance on it, calling the regulatory watchdog's request overboard. So people are getting sick of it. They're only going to be able to run this for so long. It's sad that you have places like Singapore and Dubai and lots of other places that are way, way, way ahead of us right now. But you are seeing people like Warren Davidson, Caitlin Long, Hester Pierce. I could name Cynthia Lummis, right? These are all people that are in positions of power that are starting to realize how ridiculous this whole situation actually is. Now, of course, you take 2 steps forward, you take 1 step back. Good old New York decided that they were going to create a new regulatory framework for digital assets that they would consider on their green list. And they've taken off Ripple, Dogecoin, and Litecoin, but there's still 8 coins that are on it, including Bitcoin, Ether, and the good old PayPal dollar. So again, this is happening, but you have to look at the bigger picture. So I think for the most part, we're headed in the right direction. I do still think you're early. And you know what, man? If people are calling for this 20K Bitcoin, sure. Is it possible? I don't think it's impossible to retrace to 20K. I would be shocked if we went below that. I just think there's too much interest at that level, which I've shown you plenty of times. But nevertheless, I do think we're moving forward. And, some things that you do have to just pay attention to are just the simple on-chain metrics, just the simple data, the obvious, right? Look at this right here. Bitcoin percentage supply last active over the last 3 years has reached an all-time high of about 40.66%. So when you're saying that the network is not being used, that Bitcoin is this dead chain, we did like $9 billion in volume just the other day. Okay, I probably even more based on this open interest. So yeah, I mean, they're not using it. I mean, they're trading it, right? They're definitely sending it on-chain activity. And if you want to just look at on-chain activity, hodl waves, you could see right here that we tend to get down at the cycle bottoms. According to this chart, we've already hit that. Okay, and around this second area, you see where he's got this. This is from CryptoCon. These yellow circles, that's when we start to see the waves, pushing up, and we're not even close. And yes, you will notice that they are slowly going down over time. Okay, that's just due to time, coins being lost, etc., whatever. But ultimately, we are in that sweet spot right now. So yeah, we may get another dip. It may happen. I mean, I'm kind of hoping it does. I know that sounds kind of like morbid and bearish. It's just like, tell you what, man, I'm always down for another dip. I'm always down for one more chance to accumulate. I just don't think that these opportunities are going to be presenting themselves much longer. So again, as I'm pointing out right here, to get into the TA, we need to break above this area. We're at this level right now. Like, critical warning, like, we're literally at this level. I'm not like clickbaiting. We're here, right? We need to break through this level. If we move forward and have a look at this EMA ribbon, which I don't know what this drawing is from the other day, we were saying that we've never seen the ribbon flip bullish, only then to just flip bearish. And when this ribbon flips bearish, man, it flips bearish. We take a tumble, right? We take a tumble. This is a 50% crash right here, a 50% crash right here. But look at what's happening. If we zoom in, it attempted to invert, and now you're starting to see it curve the other way. And this is trying to actually close above that 89. So the 89 is around 27,600. So we got 27,400, 27,600. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but look at where these moving averages are starting to converge. We've been perfectly supported by the 200 EMA, and we're approaching the 200 weekly, right? And that is at 27.8. So what can we take away from this? Well, based on all these moving averages, pretty much get Bitcoin up to 28,000, close a weekly candle above 28,000, and I think that's it for the bears. I think that's it. I just think there's too much structure, too much, base being built here, right? We called this double bottom down here while everybody else was bearish. And what's actually funny is we called this double bottom, and not to kind of go back here to toot my own horn, but what did we say this looked like, guys? What did we say this looked like? This is a double bottom. In fact, it's a double bottom within a double bottom. I mean, you can even, if you want to take it, I was going to say, can you call this an Adam and Eve? Not really. You could. No, you can't. But anyway, it is forming a double bottom exactly as we had anticipated. And another thing that I just want to point out is, in all of these cycles, you notice that, we have this euphoria, and then we have the lower highs and lower lows, and we kind of bounce here. And, it's somewhere within these regions. It's not perfect, right? Because people get liquidated out in trades, which, by the way, guys, if you do want to learn how to trade, I think there's going to be a lot of really good opportunities coming up. Make sure that you check the tutorial popping up above. There's over $66,000 in bonuses below, and CoinCatch has a specific one, non-KYC, if you're interested, fully vetted. I've talked to the team. I've used it myself. I've had no issues. Great liquidity. So that is an extra $10,000 plus $100 sign up bonus if you guys are interested. That's just for Crypto Zombie subscribers. But you can trade on a paper account, whatever you want to do, or you can just watch the videos, whatever. It doesn't matter to me, guys. I'm here every day. I don't charge. I don't have any paid groups. But anyway, that's totally getting off topic here. You can see that this is supporting, but occasionally, we fall down into some of these areas, either down into the heart line or something like that. And then look what happens when we come down here. Even though it's not perfect, you can argue that this was sort of becoming that resistance, right? This downwards trend. And then look, once we break above it, we usually have a retest, and then we're off to the races, and then we reestablish the next base, right? And look what we did right here. Same thing. Here was the support, and then, we came down, wicked in here a few times, but look, after COVID, what happened? Once we started to get that support, it was off to the races, right? Well, what are we doing right now? Same thing, guys. We've had this area where we wicked down. Again, look at this, right? What was it acting as? This was the resistance, right? We got rejected from that. But then once we broke through, we came up, retested the bottom. Now we retested the heart line, okay? And now we're back up on top of it again. So, I mean, history doesn't always repeat, but it rhymes quite similarly, guys, right? We have the CME futures gap up at around 35,000, which is going to get closed at some point. I don't believe, we could close this one down here. We'll see. That's an iffy one for me because that was closed on like it was closing a gap and then it created another gap. So that's like an anomaly. I don't really know. That's a learning experience for everyone. We'll see how that plays out. But, you know, I was talking about this, you know, the 21 exponential with this 50, and every single time, you know, everyone's talking about this death cross. Did you hear everybody talk about the death cross? The death cross, the death cross, the death cross. What happened? Nothing. But if you look historically, this is more realistic. This is weekly. This is a higher time frame. The higher the time frame, the more pertinent it is to trading, right? It's better data. You're not gonna get a lot of data on the 4-hour chart. You can see right here, every time that we get these, we have massive, massive rallies. And I'm not gonna go over this again, but you know, we had one right here on April 10th, okay? And we have been able to maintain above the 50. If I zoom in right here, you know, look at this. We actually have maintained above that 50 average, right? Having a look right here too. Look at the difference down here in these money flows. Look at these waves, right? You can see it right here, having that peak, starts to come down, and look at this. Right here, we get the crossover on this big candle, and now we're attempting to move it back into the upside. We're not 100% there just yet. We're working on it, but the momentum is beginning to shift to the other side, right? And, you know, again, I've showed you guys all these charts, but again, history repeats, yada, yada, yada. We've shown this before. But the important thing is following this trend right here. You know, you can just see how Bitcoin has respected this trend and this upwards trend. And look at where we got the bounce when both of those trends like had an X, right? And that's where they're the strongest. So, you know, I think Bitcoin will probably continue up this way. That's why, you know, if people are calling for 20K, you might get a wick down to it, but even at this lowest support, you're looking at about 21,300, and you're talking about, you know, levels that have been supporting us since July of 2017, that even after all the 50% crashes, falls, and breaks have never actually been broken. Even the COVID crash closed above the weekly, right? Obviously, the thing you need to pay attention to is that the dollar has been on this rally, and when the dollar rallies, it tends to not be good, you know, for things like Bitcoin and stocks. But again, interesting how, see, look at that. See how we're getting that rejection? That's what I'm worried about with this 100. But you could see that, you know, Bitcoin was having this pump over the past few days. Look, we had 4 and then 2 days of sideways and then 2. So that's, you know, that's 6 days of pump and only 8 days of sideways mini. Whereas we've had, I mean, look at this big red. Look at the S&P dropping today. So, you know, just pointing that out, guys. Keep your eyes on that. But overall, you know, as I was showing you guys, we are forming this pattern and we are seeing some confluence down here specifically on the Lux algo. So yeah, I mean, that's basically where I'm going to end the video today, guys. You let me know what you think about it. Like once we start getting more crazy price action. But I mean, if this band flips to the upside and we close, like I'm going to go at 28,000. If we close above $28,000, nice solid weekly candle up there, I'm saying that's it for the bears, guys. I'm saying you may have a fake out retest down to the 25.3, but I would say that's basically it. So again, you know, going back to everything that we've talked about today, you know, having a look at the, you know, basically what happens with this Lindy effect and what happened with the ETF. I think Bitcoin we're in this stage now. This is where we are. I believe that. You know, if you look over here, this is where we are. But I don't think we're going to be there in the next 3 years. I think that opportunity will be gone. That's just my opinion, not financial advice. Let me know what you think about it below. But I wanted to just kind of spread some Bitcoin perspective and just sort of share my thoughts on what I'm seeing. So if you guys enjoyed this video, if you like this type of content, a little more, you know, sort of just talking about it, discussing sort of perspective, let me know. I'm going to get into a lot more TA soon. It's just, let's be honest, it's been a little bit boring. But thanks again for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. We should be able to bang out some videos a lot more. As you guys could see, I was just traveling all over the place. I was in Florida, then I was in Vegas, then I had to run up to New York for a little bit, then I was back in Florida. So I've just been everywhere, all over the place. But I'm back, guys. This is it. We're going to be making videos, and that is it for me. I love you. You're awesome. Hope you have a great day. If you do want to learn how to trade, make sure that you check these tutorials popping up right here, right now. Until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.